Well, thank goodness the sun has finally come out. I can't get to the yard. I can't mow the yard because the grass is still soaked. It's going to take a day or two, hopefully a solid sun to dry it out. Maybe I can get it done by the weekend. Today is done by next weekend. Today is Saturday. I hope to have it done by Wednesday or Thursday. Well, let's find out. By the way, the wife's petunias, I picked her up, are doing real good in this pouch bag for any ladies that might be watching. You just put your old potting soil down in there. You put your flowers in, put your potting soil around the roots and just hang it from somewhere. It just hangs by those little hooks on the end there. That's all it takes. I got one on each side. Then you just water it and they grow up out of there, and they're doing a really good job. I'm very happy. And I know wifey is too. Well, enough of that. Let's see what we're going to do today with our construction project. There's old Rocky. Rocky! He don't want to come out. He just says, I'm camera shy. Alright, today we're going to do some more work on the door, but it's going to be on the inside of the door. We'll finish up the outside later. The outside's pretty easy. The inside is going to take a little time. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to shim up in back of each, between the wall and the hinge on this door right here. And there's some hinges over here. I'll be doing that also. We're going to just, unfortunately, there's not enough space between the case of the door and the brick, so I can put the shims in opposite directions like this. You know, there's just not enough space. I can barely get one of these in on the thick side. So what I'm going to have to do, I just don't have a choice. I don't want them to go without being shimmed. I'm going to have to put them both, the skinny side, and run it through. I'll probably have to cut down the edge a little bit, but I'm going to cut down the ends so they're not quite as long. I'm going to run it on in there and give a good reinforcement. Now I'm not going to pound them in with a hammer. We're just going to slide them on in there till they're nice and snug behind the hinges, or between the hinges and the wall. And then we're going to drill a hole through the hinge. They very nicely provided me a hole in the hinge to do this. I don't even have to remove the screws from the hinge itself. They've already got a hole there, so I'll drill a hole through the hole that's in the hinge and through the shims and into the brick, and I'll go in about maybe 2 inches, maybe 1 3/4, maybe 2 inches. I'll drill a hole right into the brick. I don't need an anchor or anything, and the reason I don't need an anchor is because I'll be using these Tapcon screws. These babies here are designed to be used without an anchor. Let me take one out and let you look at it close up. They're called Tapcon, T-A-P-C-O-N. There's old Rocky. He decided to come out after all. How we doing, big boy? He was our first dog. And then along came Mac afterwards. He's kind of a quiet little thing. He just wanders around, doesn't say much. He won't even hardly bark or anything when it comes time to go out. He'll just kind of look up at you. You got to kind of understand dog language. Hey, boy. How you doing? Come here. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. You wiggle that old tail. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here. Let me give you a pet. He says, I don't want to be bothered today. I'm just going to sit here and wiggle my tail. He said, I'm going inside. It's getting pretty hot out here. All right, where were we? Anyway, now our Tapcon screw, now this is a 3/16 diameter screw here, and they go in. You have to drill your hole, and they have a heavy, they're specifically made for concrete, cement, and they will work on brick, and they have a thick, really thread that sticks out real far. See it? You got your inside threads, and then you got the big suckers there. And they bite into the brick or the concrete block or the concrete cement, whatever you're doing, Phillips head. They come in different lengths. This one here is 2 1/4, I think it was. I said, you know, thought it was 2 1/2 or 2, but it's actually 2 1/4. Now, in order to do that, you have to have a drill that fits that thing. Now, this is a 5/32 drill that for use with 3/16 diameter Tapcon anchors. Now, of course, these are called anchors, even though they're not the type of anchors you and I would pound into the hole. So this drill bit is 5 1/2 inches long. I will drill into the brick. I'll mark it with a piece of tape on the drill, and I'll drill into the brick to make sure I have plenty of length for the screw to go in. And then when I'm done, I'm going to vacuum out each of the holes, and I'm going to blow out the hole with my can of air. Make sure there's a lot of dust and everything in the brick hole. And then all I have to do is run the screw through the hole in the hinge, through the shims, and on down into the brick. And you know, it's to keep the door after a while will sag from its own weight, okay? And it'll be down, and what this does is it helps anchor it to the brick better to keep that from happening. Let me show you the hole the manufacturer provided for this in the hinge. This hole right here, right through there, right on in. Put one in each hinge, 3 per door. Now once all of that is done, we've got the screws in, we've got the shims in, and the doors are a lot more stable. I'll be taking this thing called a backer rod. It's just nothing but foam rubber, and it comes in different diameters. You can get them at Lowe's or, you know, Home Depot or everything. I always go to Lowe's. I like their layout of their store. And you can use it for all sorts of things. You can use it to put between ground surfaces before filling with sand, I guess, or whatever. But these will be stuffed into the crack on you know, top and bottom of the shims after I cut them off flush. And we'll stuff it on in there using a shim. As a matter of fact, we'll just take a little old shim like so, and we'll just use it to stuff it in the hole, the space between the door casing and the brick. We're going to stuff it on in there, and after we do that, and what this will do is this will help, the door will flex a little bit. Even with the screws in and all that, temperature, the house will flex, the door will flex. This will help kind of, you know, keep it from closing all the way, or I don't know. It's supposed to do something. Yeah, I know one thing it'll do. It'll keep out bugs and drafts. And then once that's done, once I have the backer rod all the way down, all the way across the top, and all the way down over here on the inside of the door, then we're going to take this stuff called Great Stuff. Now this is made by Lowe's or sold by Lowe's. It says Lowe's exclusive, but I keep looking on it to see. Right there's it comes with a, you know, a spray tube like so, and you use it to spray expandable foam down between the joints, and that's essentially what we're going to be doing right there. We're going to stick that sprayer in there. Let me zoom in here a little bit. We're going to stick that sprayer in there. Now just keep in mind our backer rod will be down in there. Not too far, but far enough. And then we'll go ahead and spray our expandable foam down in here. Now this is supposed to be low expandable foam. I have yet to find anywhere on there where it says that. They do have high expandable and low expandable, and this is supposed to be the low expandable. That's what they say. The lady at the store said it. I've looked all around, and it says it's used for door jams and etc., etc. And we're going to give it the old try. Just going to squirt it on in there until it fills it up fairly flush with the edge of the jam. We'll show you that later. But there's another type. I think it's in a red can. It's also Great Stuff, and I think that's supposed to be the high expandable. You know, we're going to find out. You don't want it to expand so far. You don't want expandable foam that expands so far once you put it in the joint that it bows the door. The section of the door, not the door, but the door casing. If that stuff expands, now you got a problem with the door closing. So you don't want to overdo it, okay? Sometimes less is more, and I think this is going to be one of those cases. Enough to seal it, keep out drafts, keep out bugs. So that's what I'll be doing, and I'll show you the progress as we go along. I hope you all aren't too bored with it. Now this hole for the Tapcon screw is right about the center point between the second and third bar of these hinges. So when I put my shims in from the rear, I want them about centered with this right here, okay, which would be the second slot down. And that's where I have it, right there. The center of the shim is about even with the center of this right here. It's just a little bit lower. My goodness, you got a lot of clogged up drill bit. You got to unclog them every once in a while. It may drill a whole lot better when you do that. Let's try it again. Okay, now we'll go ahead and try the long drill bit. It would be better to have a hammer drill to use with this long 3/16 drill bit. Remember now, the drill bit has to be smaller than the Tapcon screw hole. So a 3/16 goes with a 5/32, or is it, what is it? Let me see. I want to make sure I get this right. Let me read what it says. It is 5/32 for a 3/16. That's right. 5/32 for a 3/16. And we will go ahead and drill our hole into the brick just like that. But like I said, a hammer drill would be better and faster and more efficient, but I'm not about to go out and spend $300 on a hammer drill just to drill 6 holes. And I do have a setting on here on my cordless that might help a little bit. Should help me without any problem. Well, the first hole's been drilled, and now I'm going to blow out all the dust and everything that's down in there. You want it out. Alright, now we're going to run the screw in. Well, there we go. The first one is in. I'll tell you what, that's not easy work without a hammer drill. A hammer drill would have drilled that hole in about 10 seconds. It took me several minutes. Hopefully I don't burn up the tip of the drill by the time I get done, or the tip of the bit. Before continuing on the door, I've decided to get off of that for a while. I can do that just about any time because the door is in. I need to get some of this plywood out of my hair and down on the floor. So this piece here is coming out next. Get that up and just put a new piece in, and then nail the 3/4. Start nailing the 3/4 inch on top of the whole thing. In order to put down the 3/4 inch plywood, I had to go with smaller nails. You can't use those 3.5 inch framing nails to put your floor down. You could, but it'd be a big waste of nails actually. And you'd have nails sticking down below the floor about that far. This is your 3.5 that I was using. Let me back up here so I can give you a little comparison. Again, I'm going to use my nail gun, and I'm going to use the 21 degrees, but this was the 3.5 inch framing nails, and these are the 2 inchers that we're going to use to put the flooring down with. You can see the difference in length, okay? So that's what I'm looking for. We'll just put those in, because the gun that I bought takes 2 inch up to 3.5, I believe it is. 21 degrees again, so that'll work really well. One thing about nailers, I meant to mention the last time around, you see how these nails are overlapped? The heads of the nails have overlapped one another. Let me get here a little bit of zoom. They have a different kind of nail that's actually clipped. They call it a clipped nail. And you see that half moon, that overlap you have of each nail head? Well, on your clipped nails, that's actually that half moon is actually clipped out. So it looks like you're only getting half a nail head there. And what that does is it enables more nails to be put in each of these racks, okay? But they have the clipped and the full head. I got the full head. Actually, it's probably a pretty good idea. I decided to go with the full round head because on my gun, I just noticed it. Hadn't noticed it before, that you should only use 21 degree full round head plastic coated framing nails on this. How about that? Lucky me on that one. The second bad piece of wood has been replaced. Fit real good, real snug. And we are ready to fire up the old air compressor. I'm going to sweep it down, vacuum it up, fire up the old air compressor, and we're going to start laying in the 3/4 inch plywood using those 2 inch nails. Alright, we're ready to do the first one. Now it's a little bit farther away from the wall down there, maybe almost a half an inch actually, not quite. And it's tight up against the wall here. That's because the wall's not entirely straight. And I needed equal distance from this end of the board to there. 40.5 inches is what that is. At this point and at that point. Now this wood right here, nice and solid, just got a good staining. This wood came, or this stain on the wood came from the old air conditioner that used to be here. I think I mentioned that. But that wood, I'll show you. I got lucky on that. It's nice and it's just like a rock. No problem at all. Just nothing but stained. As a matter of fact, you can see underneath the paper that got most of the stain, it's still brown. So we're going to leave that. Lucky us. And let's get started on this thing. Well, there she is, all done. The entire floor has been laid and it looks really, really good. All the seams are good, everything is tight. A little bit of space between there for flexibility purposes, but everything's been nailed down. All right, I think the next video we'll be laying some vinyl flooring down here. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do that. I don't know if I need to put something underneath it. I'll figure that out later. And I have to finish up on the inside of these doors. And then that should be it until wifey gets motivated. But right now, it's getting late in the afternoon. It's after 3 o'clock. I've got to get outside and mow the yard before the neighbors come up and try to burn me at the stake. So anyway, until next time, the project continues. This is John.